Rod Duff, your host.
And I'm producer Barbie.
And together,
we bring you our podcast,
Insights and Straight Talk. And with that, producer Barbie and I are out. All right, so I'm still playing with that fade in and fade out. I think today's going to be a pretty cool, very fun show. You know, a couple of my quirks on things that I find interest in, names and accents. We have a young man. I can say young man. I have that right. He's a fully mature, very successful young man. Has served his country, and there's a whole lot of story behind his journey that he's currently on. I can't wait to get into it. But he's from Australia, is the point. And that's probably my favorite accent is Australia. I like the Scottish. It's a little harsh. Maybe Irish is a little light Scottish. So some of those dialects really are fun to talk with back and forth. We've gone through everything, he and I, and we are we're going to be covering a number of different, really connected in some ways. Well, I think actually all connected, because this is about, as you know, the great middle class of America, and by extension, to our home country, our brothers in Australia, where Joel resides from, and it's really interesting how there are differences. Of course, there's differences, but there's also a whole lot of similarities in the needs of, let's say, the great middle class of, by extension, the world, right? I mean, we are the working class is another name. I think in Europe they use that term a lot more, which is actually a little more accurate, because we're the backbone of the governments for which we reside. And it was once said that the greatest, the most important issues of a country's day-to-day dealings must and should be made by the people of that country. And that's where we kind of have a little tweak going on right now. That's just continues to get slid over a little bit too much here. Still continues to get at my craw. Hey guys, I see you coming in. I appreciate it. Going to give a couple more minutes, and then we're going to get in with Joel and his journey, which is a continuing journey to mental health using plant medicine, ayahuasca, and other paths. I want to find out, as far as the art on the people you were talking about, the plant art, and you also kind of refer that into medicine. I want to dig into that. Dude comes from Australia. You know, my older boys, actually 3 of my older boys played rugby out of Irvine, California, and I was an international ref for a brief period of time, because I like to experience those things. My sons were involved. What a great excuse. And plus I got to run a hell of a lot. And it was towards the end when I was ever going to be able to run again. So it all worked out. We've got a lot to talk about in that, and then blending into some of the issues that are not just unique to America. They're unique to the working class, the backbone of each and every, at least free world, certainly. I obviously that extends as well beyond, but the economics are, I mean, I think it's $17.6 trillion currently that our government, recently, that has been spending every year, is our money. And Joel, you know this, it's your money. And the whole concept, at least here in our nation, when the founders set it up, is to set up a structure of, for, and by the people. You've all heard that. I'm sure everybody has. Sorry, I keep looking over here because I got my mic covering your picture over there. But the fact is that we are not bringing in and taking out our political, whenever we go into that part of a discussion, and it's involved in everything we do, our health, our school systems, our religions, on and on and on. And so it does quite often still peek back in. We have entire shows on it, which is the best ones, because you can really get deeper into some topics. But when we do that, we're looking at making sure we have the right people, not the right party. Who gives a crap what party it is? I don't care if you're red or blue in that case. The fact is, if I'm living on a street, or as I'm living on a street in my comfy little neighborhood, or my comfy little apartment, or my shack out in the woods, which is not as a good of example, because the ones to the right and left of me, no matter their melanin, no matter their religious beliefs, no matter their background-ish kind of stuff, at the end of the day, at the dinner room table discussions, it's all about how do we make it today? How do we get our kids through this? How do we get, how can we plan a vacation? How can we make the next bill payment? And, those are the things and the reasons our political leaders keep us, racism, thisism, that-ism, those isms. It's because it keeps us in boxes. And this and many other shows are really trying to develop an ability to talk across. And Joel made the perfect point. Getting a little long here. Okay, I'm wrapping it up in a second here. Joel made the perfect point in that, what's like off, but, and I said, dude, don't worry about it. This is a chill conversation. We're looking for, friendly discourse. Hopefully there's a different view here, because if you hear your own view, you're not learning anything. I mean, maybe you're reinforcing something to a degree, but we always want the other sides of things. I think typically Australia is a little more what we would call left, I think, leaning in. I may be wrong, but you have a lot of knowledge about the political system. So I ended this whole thing on that, but we're talking about mental health. We're talking about a people, I assume Indigenous people that are being supported, and by supported, we're talking about getting that message, their art, their ancestry, honoring their ancestors coming forward, as well as themselves moving forward. And so there's a lot of really great stories in here. I just got stuck a little bit on the political one, because, again, that's a story that has an influence by the political leadership of your country, Joel. And so let's introduce my best friend ever, and certainly my newest best ever Estes friend, Joel. How are you, my friend? Let's.
I'm feeling the love. I'm feeling the love. I'm feeling good. Good day, everyone out there. Everyone in the internet world. Hope you're well.
There it is, right there. That's the thing I'm talking about. You just keep going on that, brother, and I'm going to sit back. I'm going to have my sweet tea and enjoy the conversation. So,
sweet tea. Where's the Coke?
I was lying about sweet tea.
So there you go. Fair enough. Straight to truth.
That's never. Yeah, you got me. You pulled me. Okay, so I know where I can get away from it now. You already warned me. You've seen a few of the shows, so I should have not tried to play that one off. So I told you we already got like 80 people here, and I took up too much time. So let's kind of dive into what we're talking about in the back. And you left those green M&Ms alone. You promised, right?
I promised.
Somebody gets upset back there, I'll get in all sorts of trouble. I don't need that. So at the end of the day, as we were talking, we always like kind of the journey before the journey, what got you along this path. And as we were communicating, and then prior to that, some of the information, that's supplied to see, what information fits, because there's so many possibilities.
Right.
And and in that you talk about your father, and you talk about the journey that led you to the journey. So this is going to be a great one. Fill us in, and I'm sure along that path, these people are way smarter than me. So you're covered here coming up. Just get that journey on, and let's sit. Hold on. Just as I said it, you smart asses. What did the jungle see? I told you there's a lot of research. There's a lot of marketing out there. So they're going to start digging in, because that jungle thing, that was fascinating. I really want to hear about that. So let's hear what happened to get you to where it's happening now.
Absolutely. I'm 48, so I was born in 77. And life was normal. I am a middle-class Australian, raised by middle-class, working-class Australians.
Yep.
And in 1986, my parents made the decision, because of their strongly and dearly held convictions for them, that they were going to move to what is one of the most extreme environments in the world, the island of Mindanao in southern Philippines. So this is a terrorism hotbed. When I say a terrorism hotbed, we're talking about an island that is not particularly large. And on this island, you have the MNLF, the MILF, the Moro Liberation Front, the Abu Sayyaf, the New People's Army, and they're all there. The one group of insurgents on the left and the other group of insurgents on the right, and they've been fighting and still are fighting since the Vietnam War. I experienced
the Vietnam War. They've been fighting now on that island against each other. Is that what you're saying, or
no,
that's where their base is?
They fight against the government.
Gotcha. Okay.
One side of the island wants religious autonomy, and the other side of the island wants to overthrow the Philippine national government. So, and the town that I was,
nightmare, man. That's gotta be a nightmare.
Yeah, they captured the town while I was in it. We couldn't leave the house. We had an armed gunman who would walk around the yard and shoot people if they tried coming over the fence. A death squad tried to murder me for the first time when I was 11. Someone tried to assassinate me with a gun point blank range when I was 16. But that's not the stuff that really messed with my head. What messed with my head was going from being 8 years old with a culture to simultaneously existing between four cultures, shifting values and mindsets, different rights, different wrongs, different conversations.
How involved were you were you involved with each, you know what I mean by deeply? What level? I mean, was it I'm on this block, I have to act specifically this way. I'm on that, kind of like gang territory, right? But bigger probably. Is that deeply, or was it, what did that look like? Because that sounds, you're 8-ish, 11, yep. 12, 13-ish. That not only is that bizarre, but that's 8 years old, facing bizarre. So it's you were entangled. So when you had to learn that, it was deeply-ish, right?
Well, I'll give you an example.
Okay.
What do you think is more of a worse act, to be publicly rude to someone, or to kill someone who was publicly rude to you?
Oh my God. Worst act. Yeah. The killing is definitely quite a bit more.
That's a matter of opinion.
Huge more.
Matter of opinion.
Really?
Based entirely on where you live. There. Oh, no. You were rude to them publicly. You're dead. Yeah, absolutely. They will not cop that. You cannot shame certain cultures in public. If you do, and they kill you, there might be legal consequences, but the people in that environment will say, here's another one. What if you're an employer and you caught your employee stealing from you and were publicly rude to them? What's going to happen?
Are you kidding me? The same thing?
You may not make it home. You may not make it home. Now, in that same culture, it's incredibly beautiful, incredibly friendly. So this isn't an act of demonizing a foreign culture of look at them, look at us. No.
Gotcha.
These are just ways of behaving. These are just, what is common sense is entirely a matter of where you are at that time.
I get you now. You now. You know, it's bizarre because, and here's another example. I get to every day, at least every day, sometimes a couple of times a day, talk to somebody like you about something that an initial impact, let's call it, initial discussion, blows your mind. But then as you talk about it, you understand how things are different. And that is crazy what you just said, because it's you go over to, like, I'm really bad at this, Iran, or these different cultures, stoning and this and that. These are real thing. It's not like you said, you're not condoning an entire culture, but these are specific things that have probably been around for, you said they've been fighting since Vietnam, so that's 50, 60 years, and whatever that culture brought with it, and then go on. You know, I mean, that's amazing. Amazing.
Yeah. And so there was a lot of extreme violence. As I mentioned before, I had to fight for my life a couple of times in my youth, and these
Knife
things.
too.
Knife, gun, yeah. They tried to stab me in the stomach. I had to disarm them when I was 11 and fight off 3 men. But they were doing that because they came to kill me because of my father's work in the mountains with tribal people. He offended someone.
Talk about that. That was interesting. What your dad did in the jungle.
Right. So my parents started an organization called Philippine Tribal Assistance. So my father would just head off into these mountains full of all these insurgents and things and do missionary work. Now I've got some views on that, but I got to give the guy credit for his incredible heart and his incredible courage. But it was fairly brutal. And after all of this, I ended up going to university.
Hang on. Whoa. If you've ever seen the opening, it's like, whoa, wait a minute. Sometimes there's a big one. You try and slip in there. And I don't know if you want to continue it because you slipped it in there. But your thoughts on your father's missionary work you applauded his efforts and all of that. But you also said there's some thoughts in there. Is that something that may have been something worth saying? Oh, it was just this, and this, or
no, absolutely.
Rod, shut up. I'm moving on.
It's actually a significant part of what I do.
I knew it.
And
I knew it. Yeah. And you tried to just slide it past us, you little son of a gun. Really?
Yeah. All right. Just try to under the radar, get that in and move on. But nope, you got me, Rod.
Right here, brother. Right here.
I feel it.
Here.
I feel it.
You already got me once, so I'm highlighted. I got to get you. Go.
1-all. Okay, here we go. Well-intentioned people can do very harmful things. Well-intentioned people can also do incredibly beautiful things. Sometimes well-intentioned people do the same thing, both things at the same time. So I observed my parents doing humanitarian work that saved lives and had incredible impact. But I felt quite conflicted about the idea of hiking into a jungle village who'd never encountered Westerners before, who have an entire culture that's developed, and say, actually, you need to abandon all of your faith and all of your values. You need to ignore your leadership structures that exist in your tribe. We're from a church, and we'll give you money and we'll give you stuff, but you need to abandon what you believed before, and you need to stop listening to the people who've told you that you shouldn't talk to us. Now that's not the direct
how much
message.
of that did they do? I know missionary work because we do it a lot, and it's funny because you say that because that's an interesting view because one, it's comfortable to hear you say that. Some people get radical and crazy and then they lose their point. But what you're saying makes a lot of sense because while the reason of the mission is awesome and critical and important, unless you're already going here, it's hard to be here, like you said, when you're here for what? Thousands of years or something, right? You're changing something. That's like a smack in the, I get what you're saying. That makes sense.
So just to fast forward real quick in time to my work in the Amazon. My work in the Amazon is supported by Christians who live in jungle towns. And then the work that the art and all the other things that we're trying to get out there is all supporting the indigenous who have their whole worldview, which I find incredibly beautiful and has been profoundly helpful to me. But I'm actually
that's a tweak then what you're saying. A different. Okay, I'm following.
So you could say, if you like, that I was inspired by my parents' work. They came from a different era where there was a lack of. We know more stuff today. You know what I mean about the world. So I'm able to take lessons from what I experienced. And what I really realized is that the most important thing for people is agency, the ability for them to have self-determination in their life. That's what people want. And you don't achieve that with charity because the problems are bigger than the donation that you give. But what you can do is actively create agency through the generation of opportunity that is then self-sustaining. But that's a bit later in the chat. Sorry, I sort of fast forwarded there away from Asia.
Before you unfast forward or continue on or what's next in our little party here, I just heard you say agency.
Yeah.
This shows age. I know this, But I've heard agent. Finally, about a month ago, I told somebody, I stopped somebody. I said, "What the hell does that word mean?" All of a sudden it popped up like 2 years ago, and I think you're in that generation where different things evolve, and you spoke of it perfectly because, well, you didn't speak of it, but what you said made a lot of sense because we are in a point of change. Your parents came from a different generation, which had continued that, evolution since the 1800s. That's what, or earlier, maybe, I don't know, but that's what people did because they're spreading the gospel and the word. And that's how they were conquering the world at one step at a time kind of thing.
Yeah.
Now, today, what you're saying and what you're doing differently is kind of a vibe all around the world because everything, like you said, AI is changing everything. We do a lot of, the world focuses a lot of that because it's there. But at the same time, we're starting to, again, maybe parent a little different. We're starting to talk to each other a little different. We're starting to get our information from different sources. Now we're starting to go out and realize, hey, let's spread this message, but let's spread their message. And then loop back through with them to be part of who they are. It's like the salesman. We were talking to somebody the other day that, if somebody comes in and says, hey, buy this from me because it's this and it's that, and it's got the greatest price, you'll love it. Okay. But if you come in and find out what their life's about, what's their pain point, who's their gig, just a gig twice in a row. What's their thing about? Who are they? What's important with their ancestors? What you're doing now is you're. And I'm sorry, I'm taking over your show. I'll jump out. But that's another of those evolutions, and I'm starting to really get excited. There's times you get concerned about the way we're headed, but as we're talking here and these different other things, this evolution that's coming about is starting to make me excited. And I see it only because I talk to you guys all the time. So I'm getting fired up, dude. Go ahead.
It's the middle class of the world, I think, that will ultimately be its savior.
100%.
Ultimately, whether it's middle class in Australia or middle class in America or middle class in Canada or middle class in the UK, the people at the top of the tree on all sides of politics have an underlying driving motivation to keep themselves there, which is how that is.
And profit.
But technology, including AI and everything that comes with that, allows us to transcend borders, right? And leverage at impacts that really unappreciated by the general population at this point in time.
Leverage impacts, meaning... Shoot, I got to scoot over. I'm like, go ahead.
So to answer that, there's a question on the screen there. What did the jungle teach that no one else could? So this is actually part of answering that question.
Perfect. Hold on.
Yeah.
What an awesome transition there. That was very clever. And it would have been continuing to be clever, but I stopped it. So that was awesome. Good for you.
Thank you, brother. So I was born in 1977. But Rod, how old are you?
Oh, I knew you were going to ask me that. I was getting ready for high school when you were born. I'm 63. I turned 63 on June 3rd.
But how old's your body?
Okay. So, here's one. That's even more complicated than you think it is because of who I am. It's a lot. That's a harder question to answer. I'm not avoiding it. I don't know how to answer it. So I'm not screwing with you. What do you mean by that? And I'll tell you, because I've had a long, interesting life, let's say.
There are many truthful answers to that question. One answer to that question might be that the carbon in your body is 13.8 billion years old and is older than the sun. Older than the sun. Parts of your body that is walking around right now are older than the sun. This isn't my opinion. This is science. Older than the sun. Let's look at it another way.
Okay.
How old is your body? You have DNA, right? How old is that DNA?
Yes. Okay. All right. I got you.
48 years? 63 years? No. That's the current presentation of your DNA. Your DNA allows you to be a expression of consciousness in time. But
Okay.
your origins go back through your ancestors further and further and further until, according to science, we're not even human beings any longer.
Hold on here. So I'm with you. The DNA part you said is your expression in time, is our expression in time. Our DNA
Expression of
enables
consciousness in time. Yep.
consciousness in time. Is that the DNA that's also, that same back, or is this, or does DNA, you know what I mean? Our cells are made up of that. The difference between DNA and consciousness and the other, where's that separation? Where is that?
Your consciousness
Just trying to understand.
Yeah, sure. Your consciousness is attached to your being that's walking around. But
Yes.
if we look at your DNA, the actual DNA strands in your body, they're unique
Right.
to you because your parents came together and there you are. But their parents came together and their parents came together and their parents came together and their parents came together. And so what is in you is new and unique to the entire universe, but it is also ancient. Ancient.
So glad I asked that. That's huge.
And here's a weird one for you. What did the jungle teach me that no one else could? Rod,
Yes.
How far back in your ancestry would you have to go until you met your ancestor who said to you, your life is paradise?
Could be now. No?
Oh, how far back? I mean, how many ancestors back until it was paradise? Your parents, your family might say to you right now, oh, it is paradise. But let's get more extreme. I don't mean a good life. I don't mean that I self-identify as middle class, this or that. I mean, how far back in your bloodline, your ancestry, would you have to go until you met a man face to face and explained what you have in your life? Oh, you can get food.
Oh,
you can get food. You have
thousands
water.
of years.
And how far back though? See, my ancestors, for example, in World War II, they fought the invading Russian army when they were in Finland.
Right.
My ancestors suffered with starvation and death and extreme trauma. But let's go back even further. My great-great-great-grandparents were farmers in the snow of Finland who had to get everything they had from the ground. This is my ancestors. I don't have to go back very far before I found an ancestor and could sit them down and say, yeah, we have electricity. Have you never heard of that? Oh, okay, well, this is how it works. Now, any technology that is sufficiently advanced is indistinguishable from magic. How far would you have to go back to see your ancestors and explain to you your life? And they would say, well, you're a magical being living a magical existence in a perfect environment. Now, it's not those things. We have problems. We've got struggles. We've got all kinds of mayhem in our life, our civilization that feels like it's crumbling around us. But get some perspective, right?
Wow.
Yeah.
Sorry about that. I was over in Kentucky while you were speaking to me in New Orleans or something, because that's a great point, because you're right. Life evolves and benefits or whatever comforts are added just through technology. But like you said, we have frustrations, we have this, but if somebody, God, I mean, literally my great Aunt Nora lived to be 104. She came over in a covered wagon and saw a space shuttle go up. So, I'd say anywhere, and even after that, well, I think that's about it. About two generations would say that. They'd all say, hey, things are really getting better, man. It's so much nicer. That car's better, this, that. But to say you're magical, I'd say it'd be within what's a generation now? 80 or 90 years, something like that?
Let's say 300-400 years, if you like.
Yeah,
just
That's what easily.
Okay, but
200 years.
Evidence of human civilizations in Africa that are 30,000 years old. Well, I saw the oldest one. I think is 120,000 years old. According to science, archaeology, Okay, so if you went back and spoke to a human 25,000 years ago, that's who you are to them. That's who you are to your ancestors. What did I learn from the jungle that nothing else could teach me? I learned about the ancestors. I've realized that I'm the current expression of my ancient personal ancestry. I am the product of all of this, and I get to live this life. I get to live a life so good as a middle-class Australian. My life is so good that my ancient personal ancestors would describe my life as magical paradise, even though I struggle on a daily basis with traffic and bills and hassles and the kids down the street or whatever it might be, right? But
Right, absolutely.
But the stuff that matters is magical in my struggles. So I realized that if my ancestors view my reality in that way, I have a lot to be grateful for. I'm the product of all of their hardship. I get this. And so the way that I now honor my ancestors is by finding those today who are experiencing the same kinds of challenges that my ancient ancestors had on a daily basis, and sharing some of what I can do so that their situation is able to evolve in their way in an appropriate context. I'm creating agency and opportunity for those that don't have that in order to honor my ancestors by providing for the descendants of the ancestors who gave me plant medicine.
Wow, you hear different stories, the leading in, the journeys. That excuse me, that's really interesting and comes from a different understanding of things that people that aren't from the ancestry that has that built and grown from. What a fascinating way to have that and a much more broader, open realization of the human experience. What you just said there was, because I would, my ancestry is much narrower and still interesting, but that was rich, right? You know what I'm saying here, right? The difference in what I'm saying. That was awesome.
Well, if I can challenge you on that, your ancestry is wild. Your ancestry is mind-blowing. You haven't got any sort of context around what this actually means. Neither do I, by the way. But your ancestry goes back to caves.
Does.
Right? You didn't sort of pop out of nowhere in the 1800s in a town with horses and carts. Your ancestry.
Hold on, and go with that in a second. But when I was stating that, I was saying your realization of what you're talking about right now is much richer than my. You understand what I'm saying there? I get where you're going, and continue that. No. I'm glad we did that because you're right. It's the same thing, different challenges, but you're describing it. That's why you're here. That's why you're the expert. And I love that because I've never heard that put that way before.
Thank you.
And when I say that, I've heard it put this way, this much of that way before. And again, nothing knocking because we're looking at different. That's how you create even more color between the layers, right?
Yeah.
What you just did though is add a lot of color there because it came from a place, or it didn't come from, is coming from a place that, right? The indigenous that it's like the Aztecs have a different way of looking at that path that you just did than I would. Way we're different. That's all.
Absolutely. And the perception thing. And yet the reality is for everyone that's watching at home, it's very common. People think, oh, you know what? I'm just from here. And this is what I am, right? That's what it is.
Yep.
And that's just a matter of perspective. Sure. That's a fair synopsis of now. That when we remember, actually, we are ancient DNA. Parts of our body are older than the sun, literally. Then you realize everything is connected in a far deeper way.
let me stop you there, because I've heard you say it a couple of times and I understand it. I just want to confirm in case somebody is, because I don't want somebody lingering on that thought as you're continuing down this road.
Yeah.
The older than the sun is because you're referring to the Big Bang that then eventually created just a little bit later this universe, which was the sun became part of that embodying thing. Is that's what you're describing right there when you say,
right?
Because when the Big Bang happened, it was before the sun.
That's right.
What you're referring.
So
Gotcha.
That's exactly right. So there's components in our body like carbon and hydrogen that that are older, but then there's components that are the same sort of age. It's all based on just the formation of the universe. This is nothing wild in this, except when you really sit down to think about it and realize, well, actually, the fact that this is true is wild. It's not like it's incredible. But with these the ancestors and everything, I felt this real obligation because I've got this amazing life. I'm a veteran, and I live on a veteran pension. Right? According to the Department of Veterans Affairs, I'm a disabled veteran who is severely damaged from my life experiences. Now, that certainly was true. I'm certainly a strange cat now, but this healing journey that I've been on has allowed me to take all of my limitations, invert them into opportunities. For example,
just to clear up, when you say, because there's lots of ways to be injured.
Yeah.
Right? Are you referring to mental health right now?
Physical, but mental health is the thing that really took me out of it. Physical bothers me now, but that's just, you play hard, that's what you get, right? I was airborne for a little while.
My knees will agree.
Right. Sorry, what was your question again there?
So as far as the, because I'm looking in tying in what you're going into, which is the medicine side of things. Is this also physical as well as mental then?
My injuries?
No. The ayahuasca, the healing. I know what I'm jumping ahead now, but when you said because you're what's the term? I just went like what you just said.
Veterans pension and all that. Yeah.
And you said it was physical, and I thought I was giving a slam. I thought I was getting like a dinger there. How smart you are, Rod! You got that right. Being mental because of what we talk about, depression and these other things. Yeah. So what we're talking about is also helping physically the body as well as when people or no. I know we're going to get there. I'm just asking that question.
No, it's a fair question. From a certain perspective, you can say ayahuasca helps physically. And there's lots of plant medicines in the Amazon. And this is what Amazonian shaman, like my friends, the Shipibo, Canibo, in the central Peruvian Amazon that they use. But ayahuasca for me is very much a mental health, or more accurately, a spiritual health journey.
Okay.
The term plant medicine, I do use it, but I find that it's probably a little bit off the mark. Medicine is something that you take to and your symptoms go away. This doesn't take away symptoms. It has you delve deeply into causes. So my life was out of control. I was mentally broken. What did the jungle teach me that no one else could? The jungle taught me that I am the one who creates. Yeah. This is not a gregarious statement. Rod, you are the one who creates. Adam Wayne with his question there. Adam is the one who creates. In my life, I created nightmares in my mind. I created horror in my heart. These were inputs that I couldn't control in my life, and I didn't have a way that I could process them. So plant medicine allowed me to process those traumas and then learn and grow from them. And that's work. It takes time. Beautiful journey, though.
Yeah. And, I kind of jumped on that for a specific reason. So I've always been an athlete, and all that stuff. And then as you get older, you're less of an athlete. And then you start in sales and start sitting in a chair a lot and start flying and eating rich foods a lot. And, you move along your life. But anyway, I had a motorcycle accident that broke almost every bone on this side of my body. And so I have part of this, what I'm going to say, has been, working out, rehab, and so forth. And I try and keep in pretty good, decent shape. But I mentioned the knees earlier, and I mentioned a couple of other things. But it's come to mind to me that I'm not really doing anything different than I did before, except through this journey, I've been able to talk to people like you, and even my point is it seems to me that even if you're just working on your mental health or your inner being, it also allows you to kind of be driven towards things that just lets the body heal itself as well. I had chronic arthritis in my neck and back and my knees and my hips from all sorts of things. But I used to, always wanting to be taking something. But and I didn't do this on purpose. I've just noticed lately over the last 6 months or so, that's kind of just mellowing out. Maybe I was so stressed all the time. It was always on fire. Right. So I'm just,
Right.
I'm just throwing shit back out at you just because it makes me think about it. Doesn't mean it's connected necessarily, but when you said that, that's why it poked on that physical and mental, because I don't know, I can kind of maybe even buy into that a little bit.
Well, I said that in a certain way, that's true. The way that it's true that ayahuasca, in my experience, can help you with physical pain is that when your mental state is in a better place, you're in a place to look after your body in a way that nourishes it and allows it to heal. But when you're in a constant cortisol flood of stress and trauma, even though you can go out there and train and exercise and all of that, you do not have a sense of well-being. And so again, I want to be clear, if anyone's listening about plant medicine, this is not a situation where, you just pop down to the Amazon, have a glass of ayahuasca, go to bed, wake up the next morning. Oh, there we go. Job
good.
It's not how it works.
Well, not even the journey works anything like that. You need a guide, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. Absolutely.
I've been dying to do this.
Really?
To do this. I haven't done it yet, but I've been dying. I was in Sonora. I don't know if you've been to the States. You know a lot about it.
Yeah.
There's like a energy mountain where there's a energy core, and there's sweat tents, and there's that kind of reaching back into where you're talking about now. And then there's ayahuasca, which I first learned about it then, and then some movies and this, that. But what it does is pretty awesome. And I can't wait to dig into that a little bit, because it's about opening up things that we have that maybe we're blocking. I'm just adding words here, but yeah.
Yeah. And ultimately, it's about acceptance, which then allows you to surrender, which then allows you to release. So what's something that ayahuasca taught me that nothing else could? It taught me that giving pain to pain is an act of holding on to pain. Giving love to pain is an act of releasing pain.
Oh man, my timing was off there. I'm really sorry. I was trying. I thought I'd get a little bit out of you there on that continuation, but and then I started to go, and I heard this pause. I'm like, oh, he's coming right back. Damn. Sorry, folks. All right, so we got out of. It's fun, and it's thanks to you. It's really informative. It's not necessarily very good. You only get 2 out of 3. Pick your 2. That you only get 2. So, so powerful. How did plant medicine first call you? And that's why I got a little confused, because you talked about the plant medicine, but Adam, curiosity here. Thank you for the question. And by the way,
Great question.
Adventure Show. I asked you this last time too. Get me on the show. I'll come on your show. We've got a couple of podcasts starting to watch a little bit, which is kind of cool.
Oh, wow.
I dig
Cool.
that. Yeah, I know. It's cool. Yeah,
Well,
I mean,
and Adam's got a podcast. I got to say, Adam's got a striking profile photo there. Good looking
he
bloke.
does, doesn't he? Look at that guy.
Get myself on the show now.
Handsome fellow. Come on in. I'm not flirting with you,
medicine.
Adam. Adam, I'm not flirting. Sorry, I didn't mean to. Go ahead. So powerful. How did plant medicine? Right. Go ahead.
First call me. Well, I reached a point where I came into acceptance that medication was unable to help me. Antipsychotics or antidepressants or whatever it is that they wanted to give, medication was unable to help me. It just didn't work. Talk therapy made things worse. I'd go and see a counselor or a psychiatrist or a psychologist who had no concept of my reality, and they just basically made things worse quickly. And I look at myself in the mirror and I ask myself a question. What can I do here? I have to do something, because nothing's working and the future is not going to work.
Doesn't talk therapy drive you nuts? We've had several recent shows on that. I've actually been with people that I was like, no, it doesn't mean this. It means more like kind of this thing. And you end up almost therapizing yourself, helping them work through something. And I get it. Go ahead. It drives you nuts, doesn't it? No.
Yeah, that's right. And it was actually thanks to podcasts like Rod's and the internet and YouTube that I was able to find out about ayahuasca simply by people talking about it, which is one of the reasons why I'm keen to talk about it now in case somebody else hears about it. And I made a decision to do the most extreme thing I could think of and go to the jungle and find a shaman that was really trustworthy and throw myself into the vortex, just completely give myself to it. When I arrived, they said to us they wanted us all to have a half a shot glass on that first night. And I walked up to the shaman just bawling my eyes out, just crying, weeping, shoulders heaving. I said, I have traveled halfway around the world for healing. I will fight the devil himself at the gates of hell. I do not care. I am all in. And they gave me a coffee mug. My life changed.
All right, you're killing me here. Give me some warning coming in, because that was very cool. So when you say kind of give me I don't know. I was going to say something the audience wouldn't know, but we're kind of talking in front of them, so that didn't.
What is?
Give me, you could do that if you want. I was thinking something more like, but if you want to do that, I'm all over it. You know me.
No, can't torch my credibility quite yet.
So, Adam, thank you so much. And like I said, I appreciate people coming in and laying in what we're talking about here. The next one I did want to get in is, can you share more about the timeline shifting? What it looks like in action. That I thought was interesting. By the way, I told you we might have like 300 or so-ish people. We're right now at 480. So people are diving in here. Yeah, cool. Yeah, absolutely. You got a fan club, but you can borrow them or share them, but please don't take all of them. That's a lot. That's a hell of a lot.
Never. Can I share share an ayahuasca vision with you to talk about what timeline shifting for me looks like?
Absolutely, 100%.
So this is going to sound pretty wild, but I want to make it really clear before I say this. My experiences that I'm about to talk to in no way make me an unusual person or an exceptional person or anything like this. Every single person that has an ayahuasca journey, an authentic one in the proper context, coming from the right place, they have their own versions of this. So I'm sharing a very personal moment, but this moment is not extraordinary. It's exactly what I needed. Because ayahuasca is conscious. It knows what it's doing. It's not like a drug hallucination where it's all randomized. It knows you better than you know yourself. So for myself, with timeline shifting, I had this vision, and so you can't see, in a vision state like this, you don't see the reality around you. At times in an ayahuasca ceremony, you do. At times you don't. It depends on what's happening with ayahuasca. In this particular one, I was watching the entire universe being created by God, and God was showing me it all coming together. And he snaps his fingers, and I saw the whole thing. And then this vision was talking to me. So I'm not saying that God took me there to this is in a vision state. And the vision said, you do not understand. I am the one who creates in, through, and all around. You do not understand. I am the one who creates. Will you snap your fingers? Will you snap your fingers? And I just seen God snap his fingers and create the universe. And I realized then the whole thing sort of swirled down to, it was me sitting on the ground. And he was saying to me, you do not understand. I am the one who creates. Will you snap your fingers? And I realized, what can the jungle teach me that nothing else could? I realized that I am the one who creates. And I can literally choose my timeline in my life that I'm going to live. And I can snap my fingers with intention. And from that moment on, all I have to do is make the decisions for that timeline. That's it. And if I ever find that, oh, this isn't my timeline. So my timeline is the happily ever after adventure timeline. That's what my wife and I are living. And if I ever look around, I'm like, this isn't that. And this doesn't mean that things are always great. There's good days, there's bad days. That's why it's an adventure timeline. But if you want a timeline to business success, you can snap your fingers. Absolutely. You can manifest that reality. But that means that every day you do all of those things, all of those decisions in accordance with that timeline. It's just simply intention. I used to live my life based on what systems required me to do and organizations or institutions. And then I realized, oh, I can do whatever I want as long as I'm not breaking the law or hurting people. Okay, I'm going to create agency and self-determination in the Amazon jungle. That's what I'm doing.
That I'm getting better. Hey, I beat you to the quack. I beat you to the quack, man. I did. I was watching. There's just a shitload of questions here, dude. I mean, I'm not kidding you. I don't know if you've scrolled up and down, but we've got a. Do you have a hard stop at all, or no? You good?
Yeah, I'm good.
Okay, good. Because we're definitely going over an hour. Instagram issues. Instagram is currently experiencing a platform-wide issue. Oh, you dirty bastards. Okay, we may not be streaming as well to Instagram. I just got a notice. But everything else is cool, man. I think you blew out Instagram on that one, man.
I'll take it.
That snap. It just
right.
I think it was the third one. That's about when it showed up. That third example you used. So I love this. I love this, and what we're running through here, and your energy is really, really interesting in how, again, we're back to directing your own path, whatever that is, and finding the lights along the way, right? So you don't fall off. We talked about that really early. So in the connection here, we'll get to him right here, Mac, real quick. Give me a second, okay? The snapping, okay, that's the direction of the energy, and you have to follow up with that. So that's that commitment, that mental, what is it? Every path of a 1,000 miles takes the first step. You got to keep doing that for a while till it's automatic, and then you keep moving ahead with it. How do you surrender to change in your life path? So what's the old saying in baseball? You got to take 10,000 swings before good swings, not just. You got, so how exactly you got to really, how does that look when you're reinforcing? And I know we have a couple of reinforcement ones. This is kind of like reinforcement light, but let's dig into that a little bit, because I think we can really layer that out, because this is a journey. This is life evolved now, and it's really important right now. It's just so important. Go ahead, please.
You can't surrender to something until you're first accepted, and you can't let go of something until you've accepted it and surrendered it. They're the preconditions to release.
Okay.
So I changed. Surrender for me was it's an ongoing thing. I'm a strong-willed, driven individual. So I'm not someone who backs down from a challenge or a problem or something that needs to be resolved. If there's something that needs to be done, I'm the guy there to do it. But what I've come to realize, or what I came to realize, is that my mental health illnesses were actually trying to help me. Figure that out. I realized that my PTSD, that was keeping me ready, so that if at any time anything from anywhere ever came at me again, I would destroy the enemy. That's PTSD, right? It was trying to keep me safe, because lots of people tried to kill me, right? Now I got PTSD, no one's trying to kill me. Then I realized my anxiety was serving me. My anxiety was keeping me ready at all times to pick up the perception of the thing that was going to then trigger the PTSD. I realized my depression was helping me by keeping me at home, away from risks and dangers. Right. But I also realized these tools didn't get designed with intention. These were trauma reactions that adjusted my perceptions of reality. And they didn't help me at all. In fact, they debilitated my entire life. But I stopped blaming my mental illnesses. I stopped blaming depression. I stopped blaming anxiety. I stopped blaming PTSD. And instead, I realized they did their best. They were trauma creatures from trauma events. They didn't have any skills to help me. And so instead of trying to release those things with like anger or rage, like, I hurt you, giving pain to pain is an act of holding on to pain, giving love to pain. So I thanked my mental illness. I thanked it. I thanked my depression. I thanked my PTSD. I thanked my anxiety. And I said, your watch is over. You did your very best to try and help me, and you did a terrible job. But you tried to keep me safe. Your watch is over. I release you now into love. And that's for me what surrender was. I accepted this is how it is, and it's not helping me, and I release it with love. Thank you for that. And I'm now not a perfect man in a perfect life. I'm happy. I'm fulfilled. What do you want?
You're a hell of it. You're a hell of a storyteller too. That was well laid out. That was awesome. I mean, seriously, it's so much easier to be able to communicate a message that's, all of these messages are known to be able to invoke action, to invoke somebody to say, because I'm not unique in this, I know, and I'm not going to go through all of my story with you, but you may have seen it, because mental health is a journey that I've spent some pretty interesting times in, and like when you said it's a trauma reacting, these are the protections, and they're not equipped for the complexity that we're throwing at it. Thank you. That was, because I know that journey exactly, step by step, that you said every one of them. Okay, it was this one. I couldn't leave my apartment for months, for a minute.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
God,
that was. Oh, here's another podcast. That was an awesome story. And on top of it, you heard how I just told the story. Now rewind it after you're reviewing. Rewind it about 4.5 minutes, and then you'll hear your story and go, "Oh my God, you're so much better at that." That was a really good story. Really well. Yeah. Do you have a show or no?
No, I still haven't decided how to proceed with all of that. This is all very, very new. There's a question there about the Shipibo Kanibo people.
Yes.
This is their tapestry here.
Can
that
you?
I have all around
wait,
me.
hold on. Let me try.
There we go.
All right, hold on.
So
I'm
you
going
can
to stay
see,
off for a minute so you could do it, so you could see it. Okay.
Yeah. So this is their tapestry, and you can see it's got all kinds of medicine frog here, and you get vials here behind me with liquid ayahuasca. You can see there's an anaconda wrapped around it or featuring in many places. That's not an anaconda, or rather, it's the cosmic anaconda Ronin, also called Yakumama in other Amazonian traditions. Now, this tapestry is very rich in metaphor, and what I realized is there's no one in the world in the honoring business. Like you've met someone in your life that has really impacted you. This person who helped you with that thing, or coached you in that time, or mentored you through that thing. This person impacted your life. What are you going to get for them? A Hallmark card? You're a great mate. Cheers. Shipibo tapestry, hand woven on the floor of the Amazon jungle, is the ultimate way to honor somebody. You can give them this handmade on the jungle tapestry to say, you impacted my life. And by doing this, you're honoring them, you're honoring your friends, you're honoring yourselves. And I do my part unpaid to honor the entire thing. People were very close to my heart in that way.
Yeah, I can feel it. That now how I always ask this, but this one's really important, especially in the contact information, because obviously it's great to talk about it right now, and we've got a number of people here, a lot of people, and we'll be able to hear how to get in touch with you as far as moving this forward in their individual circumstances, whatever, right? So you know how it is. Well, a month later, a week later, an hour later, a year later, they're going to say, hey, how do I get, I leave your contact information in the private chat. I'll copy and paste it over just before we go. And trust me,
Sure.
I don't think we're about a third of the way through if nobody else asks another question. So you've got time. You said you don't have a hard stop, so you got plenty of time. I just want to bring that up. So, but right now, what were you going to say? Please tell us that, because it's here. I'm going to put you on open screen. Sometimes you see things and you go, okay, that's cool looking. And the story's really cool. But that's also really beautiful stuff right there.
Oh, yeah. You can see, in fact, let me just adjust this one up a little bit here. So you can see, for example, on this one, you've got lots of elements. You've got these leaves go up into vine faces, and then all of this sort of geometric design. It's a Peruvian national heritage, pronounced kine. Is that right? Kine. So kine. There we go. I'm still working on the pronunciations.
Hold on. Peru is South America, right? Right. Okay. I want to make sure I'm right. And we all beautiful, gorgeous country down
there. Oh yeah, absolutely. And with the website that we've got, which I'll pop in later into the chat, I'm really excited about the pricing. And this isn't a sales pitch. This is cool. Check this out. Because I've got the world's first ever extreme ethics business that exists to create wealth for others, not myself. I've decided that I'm an Amazonian art dealer. And as an Amazonian art dealer, I get to set what the prices would be if you would like to enter into a commercial transaction. If you want to go into a commercial transaction and buy a tapestry like this one here, $50,000 US, 50 grand. Say, oh, that's ridiculous. Why would someone pay $50,000 for that? Well, someone paid $6.2 million for a banana taped to a wall. I'll point that out. This is to 2,000 labor hours of hand stitching. But I understand that people aren't going to go spending $50,000 buying a tapestry, or $20,000 buying a tapestry, or $8,000 buying a tapestry. So don't do business with me. Too expensive. Instead, the Shipibo would love to invite people to honor their ancestors with a gift exchange. So instead of buying this for $50,000, by the way, I didn't make that number up from nothing. If you go to the website and you go to the pricing, I've got a pricing breakdown that explains how did I value this art at 50 grand? And I did it using labor hours. What would an Australian mother working in manufacturing get paid to work for 2,000 hours? Great. Well, is a Shipibo mother worth less than an Australian or an American mother? No. Okay, so if you want to buy this art, that's what it costs. Or you can honor their ancestors, and instead of paying 50 grand for $425, they will post it to you. And they'll even pay the postage, which is a couple $100. You see, that supports them in their ancestral life in the jungle with no government support, no education support, no infrastructure, no nothing. So your money there goes a long way. But the art is valued as the art is valued. Buy from me as an art dealer, 50 grand, honor their ancestors, $425. I think that's beautiful.
So as far as the of these people, we've Shipibo. Am I saying that right? Sorry,
that's right.
Shipibo. Village, cities, small city dwelling. What's the cultural currently? I mean, things change and evolve. Where are we at? Just trying to get to know these folks a little bit.
Okay, now we're into some cool territory. The family that makes the tapestries that I deal with, it's a community of 7 families deep in the jungle. You can fly as far as you can on planes, and then you have to get on a boat and go up river for about 8 hours.
So this is deep in the jungle, kind of. Okay, gotcha. So
Yeah.
with the stuff that they're running through is it's not a cotton. It's what's the materials, and what is, just real briefly, because we've got a lot of questions. What's the materials that we're running here? I mean, you're talking deep in the jungle with rich colors. That's typically they counter each other.
Where did the yarn come from? So that's a great question. Traditionally, they're all made using natural dyes from seeds and things like that. From seeds like similar to these ones here. Oh, by the way, that's ayahuasca vine right there.
That's what?
Ayahuasca vine. The beverage we're talking about, ayahuasca.
Vine?
The vine. That's
the
actual.
Whoa. That's the actual vine?
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's enclosed, I assume. Sorry, I'm looking down here. I should be looking
Yes,
up.
yeah.
It's enclosed in paraffin or something.
Well, so this is the vine they make the
actual vine.
Yeah, this is ayahuasca. This is what the drink is, that you have the plant medicine, and then these are the seeds of it.
Oh my goodness, that's crazy.
So they can still make those tapestries for you. I've got a couple, but the world today has evolved a lot. So my family, friends, the Shipibo family that I am working with for now, because I'm going to scale. What does that look like? There's lots of communities. They all make tapestry. So I'm not helping a family. This is my break-in to the entire thing. I'm co-creating an economy for them where they make the money, so I can apply my concept of reverse colonialism.
So you're connecting these in a sense. I mean, there's you know what I'm saying. We know what it looks like. I'll struggle to try and bring words to it, but you're connecting that, creating that. It obviously start regionally and like you said, kind of like America. You're going that way, and in that bringing at least this first part. I mean, you're not going to build entire nations off of this in the beginning.
Yeah,
it's a start. Yeah, and then it grows from there.
It's more than a start. Sorry, Rob, you were saying.
No, well, I was just going to say. So, are these are they do they know each other now? Is there a society that's in this region that you've already been chatting with and kind of moving along? It's curious because if the further they fall behind, so to speak, no disrespect,
No, of
but
course.
there's at some point in time, there's going to be a real benefit for that evolution of society that wherever they're sprinkled through, because I get holding on to your culture, especially when it's not exactly perfect right now. So I get all that, but I really envision something not so far away all around them. And it's not just them. There's all right. There's these sprinkles of this culture, that culture, and all. But there's a point in time where you're not. You can really benefit, and it's a great thing. If the Indians in America, I mean that's a time for them to flourish again. Not in the same culture, but none of us are in that. The indigenous and all that, or you're gone. I mean, you're not involved in the world except for your little time, and I don't know how that looks. So there's a moment coming for everybody, especially them. Or am I just being overly excited?
That's my vision. What I'm trying to ultimately create is not a tapestry business. Ultimately, what I say co-creating. The reason why I say I'm the co-creator, when I talk about co-creating, is because everything is a co-creation. Even your mind is a co-creation between your subconscious and your conscious. People talk about free will, no free will. Well, actually, it's a co-creation of your subconscious and your conscious. Co-creation is a really, really profound concept. Mm-hmm. My vision is in the Western world today, Australia, America, Europe, in the Western world today, people feel a lot of emptiness in their heart, a lot of lack of purpose, a lot of disconnection, and there's a malaise, even attached to the loneliness of success. Because we measure winning with money, right?
True.
And that's just how that is. But unfortunately, that doesn't have anything to do with being happy or fulfilled. Mm-hmm. And as you alluded to before, in terms of like getting left behind by sort of like global progress,
right?
What I've realized is that the government is never going to provide meaningful support to these communities.
No,
they're not capable of paying
not
tax.
Currently, not the way they're exactly. Set up. Yeah. I agree with you. I just wanted to just calm up.
No, you're right. Yeah. And charities also aren't going to be any help because you can't go in and just be like, here you go, there you go. That actually isn't helpful at all. It's good for immediate relief in a case of an emergency, but it's not a solution. What I realized is that there's a real lack of fulfillment, and there's a lot of trauma in the West. There's a lot of pain that people carry, and we all have our story. You can't compare one person's trauma to another. Trauma to the individual is a trauma to the individual. And I realized that these Shipibo shaman and others in the Amazon, but the Shipibo are my dear friends, they have this ancestral medicine that has literally taken me from craving death.
Oh, hold on. Sorry about this. And let's jump right back on it. When you said the Shipibo people are your dear friends, but there's other. So when you were talking earlier about tying the communities together, and where we were going there, where you're now building off of, is that just for this second, what we're talking about today, is that just the Shipibo people that and then there's like the whole Amazon could be a whole different, and is that a good, do they need to move out of the Amazon if they're going to develop that? Because don't we need it? I mean, you're just bringing up all these awesome ideas because it makes perfect sense, but there's going to be a lot of pushback. It's the Amazon, my God, that's the most important heartbeat, I think, in the world, right?
Well, that's where medicine comes from.
Everything comes from.
Medical practice is from around the world, back to sort of the beginning of civilization. But the Shipibo Kanibo people are about 35,000.
What does that mean? What does that mean? Shipibo Kanibo. That's a clarification meaning.
So that was
the land,
the name of a people, or
right.
Shipibo in short. Going back far enough in time, there were two different groups, and they're now just the Shipibo, and the long form of it is Shipibo Kanibo. And they really have.
Does that have a meaning? Does that have like a translation?
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay,
not that I'm aware
sorry.
of. Shipibo culture is an oral tradition. So their teachings are passed down generationally. So, so they speak, for example, my friends there, they speak Spanish because of the conquistadors. But so they all converted. People of the Amazon generally converted because it was not a like, do you want to kind of a situation. But these friends of mine that make these tapestries and serve their ancestral medicine, they still live their authentic lifestyle with their belief systems. But the gap between where their life is in their context and say someone living in Manhattan, without talking about who's happy, who's fulfilled, or any of those kinds of things, somebody in Manhattan has the ability to eat every day, right? Whereas they eat armadillo, they eat monkey, they fish, they they make tapestry, and they serve ayahuasca, ancestral medicine. And so I see this real need for people in the West to find have a vehicle to release profound pain and trauma inside them and find some comfort and resolution in their life. And I think their tapestry is world class, and the meaning and the meaning around it, the symbolism, the poetry, all of the geometric designs are woven songs of prayer, for example. And the fact that buying these tapestries also literally empowers people to have access to health, water, education, medical care, all of these things, is just, the whole thing is so beautiful.
That was a nice exchange. I had to stop and even recognize it. That was perfect. I just had an idea when you were talking there, and in what you were talking about and what the show talks about, such a widespread of topics from different things. And, in other words, we're reaching out and communicating across ways, not just within our box. The ability to have a conversation with somebody like this right now, it gets me thinking about how probably not even on purpose, but we're in our own box right now because we're experiencing and learning, and I should say we're doing what we're exposed to right now, and there's this whole conspiracy theory kind of thing going around that's like one world government, and that's behind the curtain, and there's things going on back there, and that's what's happening, and I say only conspiracy theory just to protect myself, because I know anybody that thinks one way is going to be okay. And if I said it a different way, this side would be going and going nuts. So I just whatever the thoughts are there, but the fact that we can now do this and have these conversations and learn more is interesting, because this is happening right now. It's kind of cool, It's really kind of cool. Loving the vibe. Thank you for this sacred conversation. I love.
Beautiful.
I appreciate that. Thank you very much for. Yeah, and it. I didn't see. I was trying to think now because I really I almost kind of got off while you were talking and was thinking about that. It was really interesting. Are you? I didn't. You didn't miss anything there. We were just handing it off, and you were all good. And there's a couple of things I really want. Like here, Chris, was there a specific moment that felt like true spiritual awakening? I assume he's referring directly into that journey. Now, how many of you had, by the way? I'm just
about 15. Oh, sorry, you mean ayahuasca experiences or trips to the Amazon?
Journey. Oh no, journeys. I assume that's what am I listening?
I've had ayahuasca 15 or so times, which to someone who's never had it might sound like a lot, but it's more than most. However, for people who are heavily part of that sort of tradition, they might have had ayahuasca thousands and thousands of times.
Yeah, so, that's kind of more of a tradition. It's like Germans drinking beer instead of water throughout the day, kind of thing.
It's a sacrament of theirs, and
right. But they're used to it.
And well, you become accustomed to it, but it is what it is. It is
true.
It is really wild when you realize that plants are conscious. We think of consciousness as things that walk around, but when you encounter plants in a plant medicine environment, this is a very strange thing. So was there a specific moment that felt like a true spiritual awakening? The first time I had ayahuasca, I had spiritual encounters, and that gets me asking questions. I'm not someone prone to fanciful thought. I like to stay very grounded in what I'm doing, because what I'm doing is to me, really big. And so if I get off with the fairies, everything will unravel, right? But the most powerful ayahuasca ceremony that I had was the one that reprogrammed, or it rewired my brain. And I had a vision that I saw that kind of encapsulated all of this. This is day 2 of ayahuasca on my first trip to the Amazon. And I knew it was going to be big. The night before.
That reminds me, I skipped over this before. You said they handed each of us a shot glass on the first night. I assumed at that time that was just because you're all new and giving, but you said and you broke down, and then they gave you a coffee cup. Was that night, and you drank that much that night?
So that first night I drank that, and I'm waiting for it to come on, and the shaman leading the group called out, and it was to the group, but it was to me. I don't know if it was like that for everyone, but for me, it was like that. And he said, sometimes ayahuasca doesn't address the thing on night 1. It sets it up for night 2. And I had this huge journey that night. And at the very end of it, I had a vision of this monster inside me. A monster in me. It wasn't a demon or anything like that. I understood it as I saw it. It was my pain body, what Eckhart Tolle in The Power of Now refers to as your pain body, the aggregate, the sum of all the pain, all of the trauma that you've experienced in all of your life, real or imagined, inside me. This deformed creature is ugly and like, oh, get it out. And it came all the way up, and I was about to vomit this horribleness out of me. And it said to me, ayahuasca tomorrow. And right. So we walk into night 2. All the preparatory work had been done, and I was ready for night 2. And I went in, and I'm like, here we go. And I wrote down my intention: rip the monster out. I have a warrior's heart. I don't come to these, like, rip it out. Let's go. Right. Now, the shaman once again called out saying, call out to the spirits with love. And in that moment, I realized, oh, giving pain to pain is an act of holding on to pain. Giving love to pain is an act of releasing pain. And so I started calling out, saying, come with love, help me, and release, I surrender. I just really opened myself up. And then when my trauma stuff started coming up, I just gave it love. I said, thank you for trying to help me. You didn't know what you were doing. Your watch is over. At the end of that ceremony, I had gone back to my hut and I was lying down. Oh, sorry. At the very end of that ceremony, I had this vision that I started talking about before. And it was a vision of me standing on a podium and people all around me everywhere. And everyone was cheering, like, wow. But it wasn't like an ego moment. It wasn't like, hey, look at me. That wasn't the vibe at all. The feeling around it was, I'm the hero of my story. I've gone on the hero's journey. And for me, I've done this. And yay, you know? And then I saw these words in my mind as I am a hero. And this sounds really egotistical. This is just what I needed, because when I went there, my narrative was, I'm broken. I went there saying I'm broken, and I left believing in my heart that I was a hero, not a superhero, but a guy that gets what he needs to do done, turns up, you know, engaged. And I went back to my hut and I'm lying down there trying after the ceremony to sleep. And I started yelling out, I won't swear, what the F? What the F was that? Oh my God, what just happened? What just happened? Oh, and I'm literally yelling and screaming because it sort of dawned on me as the whole experience ended that everything in my mind, the way I processed reality had changed. It just, in that moment, flipped a switch. And that was really the specific moment that I had my spiritual awakening. And I realized for me, spirituality is a doing verb. I do spirituality.
So at that let me ask you what that looks like then. At that moment, when you were laying down in your bed, is that then because you had the moment, a couple hours ago, but at this point, it sounds like, and then you were laying in bed, and is that now the moment that what happened is kind of, the mist is going on and is actually kind of soaking in, and now you know what happened. That was the reason for the reason for the reaction.
Absolutely. Gotcha. It blew my mind. It blew my mind. It took me time to process what just happened, and that really was the moment for me. But in terms of spiritual encounters, plant medicine does that. That's what plant medicine is.
Yeah, no, that makes perfect sense. I just wanted to, that's very cool. Chris, thank you very much for your question. That was awesome. Definitely. It's also always nice to kind of step back and remember those specific points that had those moments, right? And that's always a nice revisit. Clayton's got a good question here. How can someone begin to reconnect with their own ancestral wisdom? That whole thing just opens up another thing. Remember, I said I'm living here with this experience, and I only know what I know. That's something that's a semi-favorite expression on this show, because you only know what you know. Now we know a little bit something else. So how do you start their own? How does that? And I assume there's guidance that's available. Just touch-wise, just real quick. But how do you begin that to reconnect with their own, background, their own wisdom from their age?
I view consciousness as a sliver of God.
Oh,
the Bible says that God created man in his own image.
His own image, yeah.
But we are made of flesh and blood, and we are three-dimensional beings that are bound by gravity. Right.
I've got more gravity than I should have, but yes, you're right.
Right. So I think we can look at something like that and say, well, what does that actually mean then? So from like a religious text, perspective, I would say, if we made it in God's image, that seems to me to be a commentary on consciousness And if that is true, and this is just my sort of take, but if that's true, then I'm walking around as a sliver of consciousness. And if God is consciousness, and it's all, everything is God and God is consciousness, and I have a sliver of consciousness and the ability to have free will, and I'm the most modern iteration of the evolution of my ancestry, then I think that the path to understanding ancestral wisdom is being grounded. It's just being grounded and present, and taking your consciousness and actually taking time to reflect on the journey of humanity. I don't think that we can look to ancestors from thousands of years ago and figure out, just how we should live our lives today. The world has changed so much, but the building blocks of community haven't changed. And that's what our ancestors lived by. Our ancestors lived in community. Our ancestors were required to honor each other in that community, because everyone knew everyone and all those kinds of things. And over time, we've got larger and larger cities and all of that. And people spend their time so focused on where they're at and what they have or what they don't have, that they have a disconnection with where they've come from, and therefore a lack of gratitude and appreciation for where they're at. So I would say that for me, the key to connecting with my ancestry and all of these things that I'm involved in was genuine reflection and perspective, comparing where I'm at to where humanity has been, previously. And that gave me a real sense of, I've got it so good.
All right. So right now, that's a whole thing we could really go down through, whatever. And that would be another really cool discussion, to be honest with you, as well. But I'm not stopping that. Before you went one direction or the other, how much do you? Well, hold on. Let me come back to that, because I really want to get Cody in here and kind of reflect back on that point, because there are a couple of things you said there that really could be added onto, and then you went into that, which is awesome, because that is a whole nother thing. But let me have Cody go first, and then we'll come back to it here. What advice do you have for someone feeling spiritually lost right now? And he kind of kicked it. Right? Yeah, he kind of kicked it off, because there's a lot of stuff in the word spirituality, lot of stuff. Some of what we do, and this all comes from a book that I wrote, and actually I started to get ready to. I was querying it until I realized I didn't have a platform, and being a non-fictional book, it was a book, proposal. So. Now I just can't go back to the book, because I'm having too much fun talking to all you guys, man. You guys are so smart out there. And but spirituality, we talk about that. We have several different, I consider there 4, and then a couple more major, minor other religions, and I consider Buddhism to be not really a religion, but right in there, right, that thing. But everybody has one God, all that stuff. So, and then there's spirituality within. And you notice one thing I said. You said God, it's a sliver of God. So it's not the heavens, it's not God that is in question. I don't think by anyone in any way. It's just crazy what we do, whether we're this religion, that religion, or that religion, that it gives us the right to go say they're wrong. But I have the same stories and the same guy. That's a whole nother thing, man. So I like that. If you want to dive into it, I'd love you to. But when he brought up spirituality, Cody, thank you for this. And Clayton, thank you for the other question. Where would you go with this? Because there's a couple of different ways to go with this. Is what I'm
sure. I'll actually give a personal anecdote which may resonate. I'd returned from the Amazon for one of my trips, and it was only a couple of weeks later when I went to a retreat here in Australia, which I'd arranged before going to the Amazon. The Amazon thing sort of popped up, so I thought, I'll do it anyway. And I was supposed to be having a ceremony there with a substance called 5-MeO-DMT, which is from a toad in the Amazon, and it
You lick it.
takes you on a DMT journey.
Yeah,
And-
you lick it, right? You lick the toad.
Well, this is smoked, but it's the same stuff. Yeah.
Okay, gotcha.
There's a
Oh,
resin
okay,
that it
gotcha.
secretes out of its back end.
It's the next level. Yeah, gotcha.
Yeah, and this stuff's really powerful. When you have it, you sort of rocket out of your body into another dimension with all kinds of stuff there. And I don't do these things for fun or for enjoyment. It was part of a search for truth and process that I was on to really discover who I actually am. And so I'd just come back from the Amazon, and there's still a lot of ayahuasca in my system. And it doesn't necessarily leave your system later anyway. It's still in my system now. I'm clearly working with it.
Okay.
But I had this 5-MeO-DMT, and I was supposed to see this other universe, kaleidoscope of colors, all of these things people talk about. And instead, everything went completely black. And I sat there for 20 minutes, and it was completely black, darkness. I wasn't scared or anything. I was like, well, this is weird. Just sat there in the darkness. And then my vision came back. And I said, how was that? And I said, I didn't do what I was supposed to do. And they said, we'll give it a few hours and you can attempt it again. A few hours later, I attempted a second time. Same thing. No experience like that. Just blackness. I sat there in the dark, just in the middle of the day. Couldn't see his blackness. And my vision returned after about 20 minutes. And then I heard a message. And it was, stop looking outside yourself for meaning. That's what I was doing. I didn't understand that I was trying to fill spiritual holes in myself from things that were external to myself. And when I realized that for me, spirituality is part of life, it's not separate to life. Religion is an external environment where you're doing things with institutions and organizations and you're externally demonstrating. Spirituality is the process of connecting with God inside you. Not saying that you're God. People get that confused. Are you saying you're a God? No, I'm not saying I'm a God. I am saying parts of me are older than the sun, but I'm not saying that I'm a God. What I'm saying is that I have agency in my life. And so for me, spirituality is really what I do. And so I've brought things into my life that add spiritual richness and meaning. And I don't worry about the external elements for other people. I'll give you an example. I draw sacred geometry. That really helps me a lot.
Sacred geometry. I get the idea. It's geometry the old way.
Let me see if I can turn this. Hold on. Oh, there you go. There you go. Have a look at this. Whoa. So these are all hand-drawn.
Nice.
And that is a daily meditation that I do. Just to ground. I sit down, might be at a coffee shop. I might be in my backyard. I might be wherever, but I sit down and I draw these as a grounding exercise. And so for me, spirituality is about doing things that care for my internal well-being. And once I do that, I'm able to then express good things externally, but go inside first.
Let me ask you something as far as grounding. You mentioned that a couple of times. I was going to expand on that earlier or ask. We hear a lot about grounding, and grounding makes sense. I mean, especially considering how, our energy, our path is through our body. A thing that we talk about a lot, and it's interesting, the Amazon here, is there, I talk about grounding as far as grounding yourself in the things you're talking about, but in addition, taking my shoes off and standing in the grass or going up and hugging a tree. You're in the Amazon, my God. Is that part of the grounding thing you're talking about? That's grounding big time, hee-haw, bam, right?
After my ayahuasca journeys, I actually go to a place called Chennai Tempishka, the boiling river. It's the only one in the world. It's a flowing river of boiling water. And it's where the Shipibo live in their region. To me, it's a sacred place. And whenever I've gone to the Amazon for plant medicine journeys, I then go to Chennai Timpishka for a few days just to ground, to be in nature, barefoot, just connecting to the earth. I get into the
Right.
water there. There's a part of the river that's cooled down enough that you can get in it for a few minutes before it causes you troubles. It's
Sure.
that hot. And I get in over and over again and have my little sort of rituals and ceremonies. These are words that are almost taboo in the world today because you hear ritual, ceremony, and it sounds like woo-woo or voodoo. But
Right.
a ritual or a ceremony is simply an act that you're performing from the heart with intention in order to sort of reach out and strive to communicate something to God and the universe. It doesn't have to be more than that. It's like a three-dimensional prayer. So I do a lot of my own little ceremonies because I feel like when I live life as poetry, my life is more beautiful.
Sure. No, I mean, because we are human, we are mammals, we are that energy. We talk about, a frequency that you're sending out to, not to the world, but specifically like in a 6-foot area, where you literally can feel somebody else. And there's a whole nother part of that is also in the edges. Talk about holistic again. Here's another part of a whole we haven't even talked about yet. You even cracked open the window, the door. I like Annie's talk here, or Annie's pat on your back here is what I should say.
Oh, thank you.
Loving the vibe. Thank you for the sacred conversation. Thank you, Annie. There's another one of your fans. What the heck? Hold on. I told you it's not aesthetically perfect here, but really good message so far and continuing. Damien had a really good question. Can anyone shift their timeline? We talked about this a little bit, and that's where some of the going back to some work that needs to be done. It's not just I snap it, now I'm starting, but you need to follow up with that. And that's more of a, so yes, I mean, yes, anybody can, right? Go ahead and take that and run with it, my friend. Thank you, Damien.
So people often think that God created Earth and the universe, and that's a real
often think.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's a real misunderstanding, actually.
Oh, I want to hear.
And the reason why it's a real
That's not a bad thing. I didn't mean that to go and I'm going to come out punching. I'm like, this is interesting.
Let's go. Yeah. Is because it's not finished being created. It's being created all of the time.
Okay, you tricky little devil, you.
Every moment from now onwards is unrealized potentiality. And whoever you are out there, your personality is a sphere of potentiality. And you're right here. With your life decisions right now, you're right here in this sphere of who you are. But we all know, we've heard stories of people who had their life together and something happened and they ended up this or like that. And it was like, oh, that's so terrible. Okay, well, their personality just moved in that sphere to this other spot. Well, you can navigate it back through intention. Anyone can change their timeline because the future is something that you manifest ultimately through your life decisions and your life actions. That's why I say, will you snap your fingers? Because it's literally a choice. There's a timeline that you can choose to live where you simply say, oh, you know what? I'm this and I'm this and I'm this, but I want to be that and that and that. Okay, that's where you want your timeline to go. Will you snap your fingers? What do you just live it? I said to my wife when we had a chat to God and said, we're locking in the happily ever after adventure timeline. Actually prayed with her. God, hey, it's Joel here. Just letting you know we're locking in the happily ever after adventure timeline. Thank you so much. Right? Give me some free will. Well, that's what I used it for. Right? Choose my timeline.
Exactly.
And now, I said to my wife, now here's the best part. All we have to do now, and this is it, is live it.
Yeah.
Live it. Because the happily ever after adventure timeline doesn't include me going off and doing this or doing that. No, the happily ever after timeline is this. Well, if that's what I want, if that's what I've chosen, cool, I get to live it now. And so changing your timeline, shifting your timeline is as simple as figuring out what is it you actually want in your timeline, snap your fingers and live that timeline for the rest of your life. And when you find yourself off it, just get back on it.
Yeah. And that, so funny. I've been in sales all my life. I had a machinery business. I wound down. I don't know if any of the shows that you happen to see were part of that story. I've got a lot of stories, so it may or may not have been part of that story, but I'm living a different life and a timeline now, obviously, but the sales gave me an opportunity to kind of understand that thinking and direction of where you're going and how that affects. And people lose. I'm glad you said, and just jump back on it, because you do lose it. So probably not regularly, but maybe regularly. But it's not like, that's what happens. And the way you're describing that is to take it with the intention that it is. It's the keep it in joy. It's part of the gig, man. Just keep going. And we don't do that. I mean, at all.
You just said the word do. Before we were talking about spirituality, I said, for me, spirituality is a doing verb. A timeline shift is a doing action. Living a timeline is a doing thing. Someone can't come to me and say, Joel, I chose to be super healthy, super fit timeline. I chose that and it didn't happen. Okay, well, what did you do? Oh, nothing. Okay, well, think we might have figured out what's going on there, mate.
He just chose it. That's exactly it. Okay, I get you.
So that's not choosing. That's why when I talk about this stuff, I do the whole snap the fingers thing. The reason why is because,
and that's the daily practices. That's the daily. Don's you guys are kind of dancing on this subject right here. That's the daily intention. Is that? Go ahead. I just wanted to make sure we're on the right page. That I'm right.
Intentional living. Most people live their entire life as a series of reactions to stimulus that presents itself. That's how most people exist. People who are career driven, people who are business owners and things like that, they would say, oh, hold on, but I've got a very clear career plan. Excellent. That's your career plan. That's not your life plan. When it comes to the rest of their life, how much intention do they actually have? I'm not saying that people should sit down and plan their entire life out, because you have to live and experience. But what I'm saying is, to choose a timeline, you need to know where you want to end up and anchor yourself to that. Anchor yourself
and
to
you're
that
defining
destination.
that. You're defining that timeline. That's
and then build it. I'm the one who creates, build it. So you can build your timeline by saying, okay, well, if I want to be super healthy and fit, I need to build in the things that will do that. If I want to be financially independent, I need to have money spending or investment strategies that are robust and well-informed. Okay, well, you don't get that from Bill at the pub or the bar. You get that from finding people who have expert information. So if you're choosing a timeline where you have good knowledge and good investments, then on that timeline, you must have already found the people to give you that knowledge. You can't just say, I'm going to be rich one day, and then you sit back down on your Xbox. It's not how it works.
What's the saying out there that's the guy prayed to God that he could have these riches or be saved. And I think there was a flood. He was on the top of the house, and some guy came by in a boat and said, "Hey, come on, man, I got you. Let's get." No, I've got somebody coming. Don't worry. And then somebody came over in a helicopter and, "Hey, dude, come on. It's like get rid." No, he's almost here. He's gonna come. And then he ended up dying and was in heaven. And he goes, "God, what the heck?" He goes, "Look, I sent you this and this, right?" That's that story that we as human beings don't listen to people like you that are aren't exposed. And what I like about this is we're hearing this story, and it takes humans to kind of hear that story a number of times to be able to connect to it. That's what I was talking about in sales earlier. You've got different products or different numbers, but let's say 9 times you have to touch that person, whether it's email or, and here we're bringing together this information so that people can see that vision and see the vision that also complements this vision. And it's just really, it just is so nice to be able to move in that right direction. As far as the daily purposes, Don, I appreciate what you got here, man. David,
I'll quickly touch on that too, if I could. The last question there with the staying connected to purpose, by Don. Yeah. Okay. I get tremendous satisfaction out of those pictures that you saw drawn on the wall. So So I draw one of those a day. It's a grounding activity. I actually have a method that I use called drawing prayer, where I actually can draw one of those, and it's actually a prayer as I draw it. And to me, the act of sitting and making something precise and exact. So these drawings that I'm doing are exact, and I geek out on them being, perfect. If I don't get it perfect, I don't get stressed. I'm like, oh, well, this is how this one is. But then it's the pursuit of. And by paying attention to this detail and sitting stilly with it for 30 minutes to an hour, by the end of that process, I feel very grounded. I feel very, very centered, very prepared. I also feel very creative. By the way, anyone struggling with addiction issues or anything like that, this kind of activity is outstanding for breaking that cycle, because it engages the creative and the logical aspects of the brain simultaneously.
Yeah, you literally, especially there's all sorts of different, like ADHD, the brain is differently constructed. So doing these activities make that adjustment. I'm glad you brought that up. How do you honor the ancestors in your everyday life? We're kind of bouncing back and forth a little bit as far as because we're within the message. The message has a full oval, as you put in that new game that is really wild. That we're talking back exactly, the AFL. How do you honor the ancestries in your everyday life? So that's these prayers and several things that we're talking about. Those are the things that are doing that honoring, and for you, and like we talked about that same thing happens here. All it is bringing that knowledge and thinking about a broader, let's say, life, or richer history. Is that kind of what we're doing here, David? For David, I'm sorry.
Well, actually, I'll probably take a slightly different angle on David's question, because it's a wonderful one. And it's a great question.
That's why you're the expert.
Well, thank you.
See right there. I thought I was close, but
yeah.
All right.
Oh no, you
I'm kidding you.
You're not wrong, but my daily behaviors and the things that I engage in, for me, all reflects on the ancestors. Is that? Oh, I'm sorry. It's my morning alarm. Oh, apologies. 7 a.m. here now.
That's right. I was just going to say it's morning.
Yeah, so honoring the ancestors for me in my daily life is about my actions and behaviors. Now, again, I want to be clear. I'm not putting myself out to the world as some kind of perfect person or anything like that. But I do moderate my behavior and adjust my behavior based on the fact that I get to live in relative paradise. And the best way that I can honor the ancestors is by understanding the hardships they went through for thousands of years to the best of my ability, and then apply myself in some kind of way to recognize others are still struggling and to help them. So that's That's what all of my tapestry work is. But this is just the beginning. I've got operations that I'm building in 3 different regions of the Amazon jungle, and I've got a plan to pay a lot of that forward from my ancestors.
My friend here, I think the audience has got a fire out there or something. I think we're kind of getting close to the end of lunchtime here. I want to get the couple of because actually I'm shocked here. This last one right here. We still got like 4 or 5 questions here. Emily Richards is a social media friend, and I want to get to this question. I don't think she's been on any of these shows, so that was very cool to see. Let me come. Where we?
Thank you for the comment. It's beautiful.
Yeah, absolutely. It is. That's what I want to get to. Okay, so I think we're here. Timeline. We just talked about that, and
covered that one.
We talked about that one. Sorry, I'm jumping around here. Apologize. Everyday life, and I think it's this one.
Oh, that's beautiful. Thank you, Maria.
Yeah, right there. Maria, thank you so much for that. Danny, how did your time in the Army? And this was interesting to me because, you're trained, brought up, things happen in a different world than most of society. Where do we stand with that?
Spirituality isn't something that you encounter much of in the military.
Right.
U.S. military has more religious componentry of it. And we do in the Australian Army, we do have chaplains or padres,
right,
and that kind of thing. And those guys are wonderful. But they're not there to push any kind of religion or what have you. They're a shoulder to lean on, and they're really solid guys. The military really shuts down, in my experience, those kinds of connections. The military, when I left, by the time I was finished with the military, I was a rocket ship of drive and intensity. I had the confidence that you could put me anywhere, anytime, for anything, and good to go. But that kind of focus is very narrow and doesn't take into account anything of a soft nature. And so over time, or straight away, the military just shuts down those kinds of things. They're not conducive to the warfighting experience. So for me, coming out of the military, I had to develop all of those things. I had to develop a spiritual connection. I had to develop, I am the one who creates. I snapped my fingers and I created my own version of spirituality, which enriches my heart for me.
That's awesome, man. What a great show. I am I'm where we want to be. Your About Me is incredibly powerful, raw, rich, and deeply human. She's an amazing person, and she's really dialed into this. It blends story, survival, spirituality, and purpose in a way that is unforgettable. This has been a great show, my friend. I really appreciate this, and be sure and put your information here. Real quick closing, as far as and like I said, you've got a fan club here. Please put your contact information there so I can copy and paste it over. Sure. Any last words? What do you got, Joel? Talk to me.
I want to thank you, Rod, for this opportunity. I've been working on this project for a couple of years now, and website's just gone out there, and these are things now that are the next iteration on this wonderful journey. And this has been a really wonderful forum. You've been incredibly engaging and as a host, and I just wanted to thank you, mate. I don't have anything else to say other than I'm grateful.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure. Big wave. Bye. I'll talk to you. Hang out for me in the back there if you like. I'll be there in a minute. A couple of minutes. Close up. Peace out.
I'll be in the chat. Cool.
All right.
Bye.
Thanks. I missed the click. Bye. Let me just cut you off. All right. There we are. Great show. As promised, Emily, I'm glad you showed up. That's awesome. This was a show that kind really kind of knowing what I know of you, about you, with you, that the journey you're on and the stories you tell, and we kind of digital friends talk about. It's interesting that the movement is growing, and it's really Oh, hold on. I'm gonna babble for a minute while I. Oh, that's easy. Perfect. Thank you. Appreciate it, Joel. So anyway, I've met a lot of people that have kind of joined in. It's kind of I don't want to use the word strange because it's amazing. I talk about the show and how much that this has brought in richness and not just information. Control V, did I get it? No, I didn't get it. Not just information, but people, experts like Joel here, new details and coloring, not just coloring between the layers, but details of things that could were never thought of before. Is that there? Let me see. Yeah, I think we got everything. There it is. Okay, cool. So we're going to have that at the bottom of the chat. So please get on there and take a look, and please comment, please subscribe. We have really been excited about how everything's developing a lot. Here at Insights and Straight Talk, I pop in and out. I'm Rod Duff. I'm your host, and producer Barbie, but I'm out.
Before you leave, if you'd like to watch another one of the podcasts, click the first link in the description. We love having you here, and we appreciate all your support.
And with that, producer Barbie and I are out.